The world began in silence, a vast expanse of white mist and unformed thoughts. Before the first word was ever spoken, the mountains stood as silent witnesses to the slow passage of eons. In this realm of quiet majesty, the stories were not written in ink, but in the very marrow of the earth. We begin our journey where the light first touches the jagged peaks of the Forbidden Reach.
The path ahead is obscured, yet I feel the pull of the ancient ley lines beneath my boots. Every step I take through this frozen waste feels like a conversation with the ancestors who once called this place home. My lantern flickers, its blue glow struggling against the encroaching shadows of the valley. I must find the entrance to the Great Archive before the storm consumes the trail entirely.
Ethelgard moved with a purpose that defied the biting wind and the weight of his years. He was the last of the Wayfinders, a guild dedicated to preserving the visual memories of a world that had lost its voice. The silence here was not empty. It was a heavy, physical presence that pressed against his spirit. High above, the stone arches of the old empire loomed like the ribcage of a fallen titan.
There, carved into the obsidian cliffside, are the first markers of the threshold. These symbols have not been touched by human hands for over 1,000 years, yet they pulse with a faint, rhythmic heat. If the legends are true, this gate will only open for one who carries the weight of the past without faltering. I place my hand upon the stone and pray that my heart is steady enough for what lies within.
With a sound like a distant avalanche, the mountain itself began to shift and groan in protest. A narrow fissure appeared, spilling a warm amber light across the sapphire blue of the snow. Ethelgard did not hesitate, stepping into the warmth and leaving the freezing world of the surface behind. He entered a hallway lined with towering statues, each one a monument to a king whose name had been erased by time. "Halt, traveler, for you stand upon the bridge between what was known and what has been forgotten. I am the echo of the first forge, the guardian of the sightless records that you seek to reclaim. Many have come before you with lanterns held high, but their light was extinguished by their own fear. Tell me, Wayfinder, do you seek the truth of the end or the hope of a new beginning?"
I seek neither the end nor the beginning, but the continuity of our people's spirit. The images preserved in these halls are the only map we have left to guide us through the dark ages that have fallen upon the world. My lantern is fueled by the memories of those who still believe that beauty can survive the frost. Move aside, Sentinel, or show me the way to the central chamber where the heart of sight resides.
The sentinel let out a sound that was half sigh and half thunder, its celestial form rippling like water in a pond. It stepped back, its massive mechanical gears turning with a rhythmic click that echoed through the vast emptiness. Ethelgard continued his descent, the air growing thick with the scent of old parchment and ozone. He reached a bridge of glass suspended over a sea of liquid silver that mirrored the stars themselves.
This place is more beautiful than the stories ever whispered, a sanctuary of pure light hidden in the dark heart of the earth. I can see the reflections of every face that has ever looked upon the sun within this silver sea. It is overwhelming to realize how much we have lost, but even more powerful to see what can still be saved. I must be careful, for one wrong step on this fragile path will send me into the depths of memory.
As he reached the far side of the glass bridge, the architecture shifted from stone to something more organic and crystalline. Great pillars of emerald quartz grew from the floor, branching out like trees to support a ceiling of pure diamond. Here, the silence was replaced by a low hum, a vibration that resonated within Ethelgard's very bones. He was nearing the core of the archive, the place where the world's first images were forged into reality. You have crossed the sea of reflection, which is more than most who carry that lantern can claim. But the Garden of Glass is a different trial altogether, where every shard reflects a version of your own failure. Do not look at the facets of the crystals, Wayfinder, or you will be lost in the regret of what you could not do. Keep your eyes on the blue light of your lantern and move with the rhythm of your own heartbeat.
My regrets are many, but they are the stones that paved the road that brought me to this holy place. I will not turn away from the shadows I have cast, for they are the proof that I have lived and struggled. My lantern does not just light the way, it burns with the fire of every hearth I have defended. I am ready to see whatever truths this garden intends to show me, for I am a servant of the light.
The emerald forest gave way to a vast circular chamber that seemed to have no walls, only an infinite horizon of swirling golden clouds. In the center sat a simple wooden desk, an anomaly in this place of cosmic scale and divine materials. On the desk lay a single unopened book, its cover bound in the leather of a creature that had not walked the earth for millennia. This was the lexicon of vision, the source of all that was seen and all that could be imagined.
At last, the search that has defined my bloodline for 7 generations comes to this quiet moment of revelation. I expected a throne or a weapon of ultimate power, not a humble desk in a sea of gold. It reminds me that the greatest changes in the world often begin with a single person and a single thought. I reach for the cover, my hands trembling, not with fear, but with the weight of the responsibility I now hold.
To open that book is to invite the weight of the world's vision into your own mind, Wayfinder. You will see every sunset that was ever witnessed and every tear that was ever shed in the dark. It is a burden that will change the color of your soul and the depth of your shadow forever. Are you truly prepared to never see the world with simple eyes again?
I have spent my life in the gray twilight of a dying world. I would gladly trade my simplicity for the burden of color. If seeing the truth means I can no longer live in blissful ignorance, then that is a price I pay with joy. Our people are starving for a vision of what we once were and what we might yet become. I open the lexicon not for myself, but for the children who have never seen the bloom of a spring flower.
As the first page turned, a torrent of visual history rushed into the chamber, flooding the golden void with vibrant life. Images of ancient cities with spires that touched the clouds, and oceans teeming with leviathans swirled around Aethelgard. He saw the birth of stars and the slow dance of continents as they drifted across the face of the deep. The chamber vibrated with the collective memory of every living thing that had ever looked upon the world with wonder.
I can see them all, the festivals of the sun, the quiet moments of a mother's prayer, the fierce beauty of a desert storm. It is too much for one heart to contain, yet I feel my spirit expanding to meet the tide of history. These are the treasures we forgot we had, the wealth that cannot be measured in gold or silver. I must record these visions. I must ensure they are carried back to the world above.
The records are yours now, Wayfinder, but the path back to the surface is fraught with those who would hoard this light for themselves. There are shadows in the world that hate the clarity of vision and prefer the safety of the dark. You must protect the lexicon with your life, for if it is lost now, it will never be found again. Go now, before the golden void collapses and traps you within the memory of the world forever. Ethelgard grabbed the book and his lantern, sprinting toward the rising staircase as the golden clouds began to turn into a violent gray. The chamber was dissolving, the reality of the archive retreating back into the myth from which it came. He climbed with a strength he didn't know he possessed, his lungs burning with the thin, electric air of the collapsing dimension. Behind him, the spectral sentinel bowed low, its duty finally fulfilled after countless millennia of waiting.
The air is changing.
growing colder and sharper as I ascend back toward the physical realm. I can hear the wind of the mountain howling through the cracks in the ceiling above me. The lexicon feels heavy in my arms, a physical weight that grounds me amidst the swirling chaos of the exit. I will not let this light go out, no matter how hard the storm tries to extinguish my flame.
He emerged back into the blizzard, but the world no longer looked like a wasteland of white and gray to him. Through the lens of the lexicon, he could see the hidden patterns of the wind and the ancient signatures of the stones beneath the snow. The storm was no longer an enemy, but a powerful force of nature that he now understood on a fundamental level. He began the long trek down the mountain, guided by a vision that surpassed the limitations of human sight.
The village should be just beyond this ridge, though the snow has buried most of the landmarks I once knew. I can see the heat signatures of the hovels and the faint glimmer of the communal fire through the thickest drifts. They will not believe what I have found, but they will see the truth in the images I bring. Tonight, the silence of our people will finally be broken by the stories of the stars.
As he entered the village, the people gathered around him, their faces gaunt and their eyes filled with the weariness of a long winter. They looked at the glowing book and the man who had returned from the Forbidden Reach as if he were a ghost. Ethelgard sat by the central fire and opened the lexicon, allowing the first images to spill out into the cold night air. For the first time in generations, the village was filled with the sound of laughter and the gasps of wonder.
Look closely, my friends, for this is what it means to truly see the world we inhabit. This is the green of the forest in midsummer, and this is the blue of a tropical sea that none of us have ever visited. We are not just survivors in a frozen waste. We are the heirs to a legacy of beauty that spans the universe. These images are our weapons against the despair that has tried to claim us for so long.
But the light of the lexicon did more than just provide entertainment. It began to change the environment around them. Where the light touched the frozen ground, the ice began to melt, revealing sprouts of impossible flowers that bloomed in the snow. The warmth of the memories was physical, pushing back the eternal winter that had gripped the land for centuries. It was a miracle born of sight, a restoration of the world's balance through the power of observation.
You have done well, Wayfinder, but do not think the journey is over just because the flowers have begun to bloom. The shadows you felt in the deep places of the earth are now aware of the light you have unleashed. They are moving across the wastes, drawn to the heat of the lexicon like moths to a flame. You must prepare your people to defend the vision, for the darkness will not surrender its hold on this world without a fight.
I can feel them coming, a coldness that is not of the wind, but of the void itself. We have lived in fear for so long that we have forgotten how to stand our ground and protect what is ours. But tonight, we are no longer alone, for we have the strength of all who came before us flowing through these pages. Pick up your tools and your torches, for we will meet the darkness with a light that can never be extinguished.
The first wave of shadows hit the village like a physical wall of cold, snuffing out the ordinary fires and plunging the world into gloom. Only the lexicon remained bright, a beacon of defiance in the center of the square that cast long, sharp shadows against the hovels. Ethelgard stood at the front, the blue light of his lantern merging with the golden aura of the book to form a protective shield. The battle for the soul of the world had begun in the quietest place on earth.
You cannot hide the truth from those who have already seen it, creatures of the dark. Every image we hold in our minds is a shield against your influence and a blade against your lies. We remember the sun, we remember the rain, and we remember the love that bound us together when the world was whole. Your power is nothing more than the absence of sight, and we are the ones who see.
The shadows recoiled, their forms dissolving into mist wherever the light of the lexicon touched them. The villagers, emboldened by the sight, began to sing the old songs that had been forgotten for 1,000 years. Their voices carried a resonance that amplified the power of the book, creating a harmony of sight and sound that shook the mountains. The darkness realized it could not win this day, and began a slow, resentful retreat back into the pits of the earth.
They are retreating for now, but they will wait in the corners of the world for the moment we lose our focus. We must build a new temple here, a place where the lexicon can be studied and its visions shared with all who wander the wastes. This village will be the new great archive, a city of light that will serve as the capital of a reborn world. Our journey is just beginning, and the map is finally in our hands.
The transition is complete, and the Guardian's role must now pass from the celestial to the mortal. I will fade back into the stars from which I was born, knowing that the records are in hands that understand their worth. Do not forget that the eyes are only the windows. It is the soul that must interpret what it sees. Farewell, Wayfinder, until the day the sun never sets and the lexicon is no longer needed.
Years passed, and the village grew into a sprawling city of white marble and stained glass, a jewel in the heart of the mountains. Ethelgard, now an old man with a beard as white as the peaks he once climbed, sat in the high library and watched the students. They moved with a grace and confidence that had been absent in his own youth, their minds filled with the vibrant colors of the lexicon. The world was still cold, but it was no longer dark, and the silence had been replaced by the hum of civilization.
I look at these children and I see the future we dreamed of in the darkest nights of the long winter. They talk of visiting the oceans and the forests as if they are just around the corner, not myths from a forgotten age. My lantern is dimming now, its fuel finally spent after a lifetime of service. But it does not matter. The light is everywhere now, reflected in the eyes of every person who walks these streets.
Ethelgard closed his eyes for the last time, but he did not go into the dark. He went into the light of the memories he had saved. The lexicon of vision was passed down to his brightest pupil, a girl with eyes that seemed to contain the entire sky. She opened the book to a new page, one that was blank and waiting for the history of the new world to be written upon it. The legacy of the Wayfinders would continue, ensuring that the world would never again lose its voice.
Even in death, a vision remains, for it is etched into the very fabric of reality by those who dare to see. Ethelgard's spirit now walks the halls of the great archive in the stars, a witness to the unfolding of time itself. He has become part of the story he sought to protect, a legend that will be told as long as there are eyes to watch the dawn. The cycle of light and shadow continues, but the balance has finally shifted toward the day.
The mountains still stand as silent witnesses, but they no longer watch a world of despair and frost. They watch a world that is learning to dream again, a world that understands that every image is a gift from the void. The lexicon remains the heart of the city, its pages turning with the passage of the seasons and the growth of the people. And in the highest tower, the sapphire lantern sets, a reminder of the man who walked through the silence to find the light.
Do not weep for the past, for it is the foundation upon which we build the beauty of the present. Every sunset you witness is a victory over the darkness, and every dream you have is a bridge to the future. Hold fast to the visions you carry in your heart, for they are the only things that truly belong to you. I am with you in every ray of light and every spark of hope that flickers in the night.
The archive is open, the path is clear, and the world is wide for those who have the courage to look. The journey of the lexicon is only beginning as it travels beyond the mountains and into the hearts of all who thirst for truth. We are the keepers of the sight, the guardians of the image, and the architects of the scene. Go forth and witness the glory of existence, for it is the greatest story ever told.
And so the silence was finally broken, not by a shout, but by the soft turning of a page and the breath of a world reborn. The Odyssey of Ethelgard reached its end, but the light he found continues to burn, a star in the heart of the mountains. In the end, we are all wayfinders, searching for our own lanterns in the mist of the unknown. May your eyes always be open to the wonders that lie hidden in the quiet corners of the